Did you know that in fall 2023, 42% of SUNY students were enrolled in an online course? You know, it is inspiring to see, as Dan was reporting the numbers and to look at these statistics here, it is inspiring to see how much online education has expanded across SUNY. In fact, if we take a look at fall 2023 enrollment and compare it to fall 2019, post-pandemic to pre-pandemic, we can see that the percentage of students enrolled exclusively in online doubled from 6.7% to 14%. And that 14% actually represents almost 50,000 students. And for our comprehensives, 21%, or 1 in every 5 students, were enrolled exclusively in online in fall 2023. So as the number of students that are choosing online courses, online degree programs grows and continues to grow, so does the importance that we are using research-based best practices when we're supporting our online students. And that is why in the summer of 2022, when MDRC, a nonprofit organization that specializes in studying programs and policies that impact low-income individuals, when they reached out to SUNY Online with an opportunity to partner with them in a study that was examining different student support strategies for online students and the impact that that would have on student engagement, student motivation, and academic outcomes. We were thrilled to join the study and to start recruiting campuses to participate in the program. And the campuses that were selected, drum roll, Finger Lakes Community College, Alfred State, and SUNY Plattsburgh. Now, these colleges were selected because they most closely aligned with the study criteria, and that being that, one, they had past participation in SUNY Online Degrees at Scale initiative, that they had different approaches to the way that they structured and delivered online student supports, and most importantly, that they had unwavering commitment to continuously enhancing their online students' learning experiences. And I am super pleased to introduce to you the project leads for this study from each of the campuses. So we have Danielle O'Brien, who's the Director of Extended Learning, Innovation, and Teaching Excellence at Alfred State College. We have Emily Kuhn, School of Business and Economics, Academic Coordinator at SUNY Plattsburgh, and Jeff Dugan, the Assistant Director of Online Learning at Finger Lakes Community College. And in a moment, we're going to be hearing from them, which is really why you're here. And they're going to be sharing with us how their campuses structure the delivery of online student supports. They'll also share their key findings that they took away from the study, as well as any actionable insights that they gained throughout the process. But first, I just want to very quickly go over what the research questions were and the research activities that MDRC used. Research questions included: how do online coaching programs support online students' educational success? What tools and resources are used to support online students? And what role do coaches serve in supporting online students' academic success? Looking at things like grade point average, course grade, retention, and what differences in student outcomes and experiences exist between students in different coaching programs. Thank you. Here's a very simplified overview of the project and the research methods that MDRC used. And they kicked off the study with conducting interviews with the campus coaches, and then they held focus groups for the online students. They administered a student experience survey that was based on the National Survey of Student Experience, which is the NASE, and so NASE, which so many of you are probably familiar with, and you know that that's a nationally validated survey that's used by thousands of institutions each year. The NASE asked a lot of questions about the overall student learning experience, but it also has modules that are related to specific topics. And for this study, MDRC took a look at the advising module and the online learning module. And then they finished up with collaborating with our campus leads here and gathering aggregate student data on their online students. So now let's jump right into the findings, and Danielle, kick us off.
All right, thanks, Susan, and thank you for that intro. The project was actually really fun to work on, and I think it was, a real nod to the work that was done at Degrees at Scale. There were so many coaches and student support folks, the admissions counselors that really helped students navigate coming into our institutions. And there's some feedback. It was a really good way to kind of research and codify some of that information and those policies and those procedures and the ways that we started doing business because of Degrees at Scale. So next slide, please. The students that are in my slides are real students with real stories. This is one of my favorite pictures ever. We are part of the technology sector at Alfred State, and our student population that was included for the study was 368 students. 247 of those who were fully online at the time that the research was done. We also use a centralized online coaching model, which is different from the advising model. And that was one of the things that the research was really clear about. They tried to distinctly have coaching and advising be two different things, right? So what do your coaches do? Some coaches advise, some advisors coach, but they were really looking at the coaching elements. Let's see if that's, way better. Thank you. Ooh, now everyone's not going to be tired of us talking. Okay, you still will be, but that's all right. Yep. So overall, really centralized coaching and really a focus on the coaching, which is, those interactions, those relationships that are built with students, and what does that mean for the impact on the success of their academic career. All right. So I did include a couple quotes that you can read while I talk. One of the things that we really learned during this research was that time management and organization was one of the things that our students struggled with. We weren't shocked to hear that. But then we learned that the relationships that they had with their coaches was the thing that they identified as helping them to be able to get through the program, to persist. And our coaches had different strategies, right? So this student here, we had an Excel sheet that they used and helped them track their time and what they were doing and map out their days and their weeks. And it worked for them. Great. Like that's one strategy out of many that our coaches have in their toolbox that they can pull out to work with students on. All right. And glad I brought my slides so that I know what I'm talking about here because I can't really see up there. All right. Proactive advising. So this is an example of a student who had a high risk rating, right? So all of our students at Alfred are assigned risk ratings. If they have a high level of risk, which means that we're very concerned that they won't persist, that they have some reason which all of our students pretty much in these programs have some reason that they might not persist, right? But there's low, medium, and high level of risk ratings. And these check-ins, these proactive outreaches, touch points for these students in those high risk categories really prove to be beneficial to these students. So sometimes it's just, this seems pretty simple, right? You meet with the student. This was probably a 30-minute meeting once a week on a Friday. The student knew what they had to do to get ready for the weekend, to get their homework done so that then they could be ready to get back into their week the next week. Just that check to make sure that things were actually going smoothly. So the collaboration really works there between the students and the coaches. And my last one here were some of the lessons that we've applied, right? So this research, part of it was MDRC came back to us and said, hey, here's all the stuff that you're doing. Great, awesome. We'd love to hear that. But also, what are the things that students identified where maybe you have a gap or you could do better, right? So we had less interaction, I think, with our faculty directly for students. We were really focused on building those relationships between our coaches, our advisors, our online learning unit, and our online students, helping them to build affinity toward our unit and the college. But one of the things that we had kind of just sprinkled in was faculty engagement in those activities. And now we're much more intentional about inviting faculty in. We have sessions that are syllabus readings, and we invite faculty in to go through their syllabus. We choose some of our harder classes, like our accounting class. So they get to meet that faculty member, right? And usually see that they're not a terrifying person like they think they are when they get into class. But then also that faculty member walks them through, this is how you read any syllabus. And this is what different things you might see from faculty in your syllabi. And it really gives students an opportunity to ask questions, but to learn about that specific course as well. And then we've invited our chairs to some of our lounge hours. So we have online student lounge hours on Fridays now. Every Friday, half an hour, they can stop in, ask general questions, just say hi, whatever they need. Attendance fluctuates kind of based on what's happening in the semester, but we found this to be really, really helpful. And sometimes we'll invite specific discipline chairs in to chat and be part of that lounge conversation. So those were some of the things that we have done in response to what we learned.
We are not in order. Hi, everyone. Jeff Dugan, and I am just excited to be here talking about this initiative and this study that we got to be a part of. Initially, it was something Ryan just told me to do, and then it became something where I learned a lot about the student experience here at Finger Lakes Community College for the online folks, and this opportunity to see the world from the student point of view brought up a lot of questions that were answered in the duration of this study. We actually had three coaching programs now that were not there at the beginning of the study. So as we were reviewing our findings, we found that we were already addressing a lot of the things that were being asked of us. But I want to kind of give you our kind of campus perspective, being a community college, and definitely in the let's go to that next slide. Yep, in that world of over half of our sections being online, right, with a large online program and hybrid program. As you can see, we have 33 online programs and hybrid programs. We just did pass our SUNY Plus recertification, so that is newly minted there. Over 2,500 students, and all of those students have one coach on campus. She's actually with us today. Surprisingly, she's able to leave her keyboard. Brooke Napoleon's here, and she participated in the survey, and she deserves a round of applause. There's just so much work done on her part to, that's right, Brooke. Told you I'd embarrass you. There's so much that she does to help onboard the online cohort, which, primarily for us is facilitated through Brightspace. We have a Brightspace student group that enrolls all of our online students into, if they are enrolled in two or more classes online, they are in this group. And we actually use some intelligent agents and things to reach out proactively to those students and say, hey, here's some important dates. Here's how you use some Brightspace stuff. And here's some important contacts. The SUNY Help Desk comes up quite a bit in that kind of initial reach out. And that was a new initiative that came from this study, honestly. And it's evolved at Finger Lakes. Maybe some of you know Maureen Owens or Mo. And that she was an innovator. She was a early advocate of the model that we've kind of evolved into at Finger Lakes, of being kind of a one-stop shop for students and advocating and caring for them, even though they're at distance. When Mo was there, that proactive technological reach out was a physical mail that we sent to students. We did actually send snail mail at one point, so we've changed quite a bit since that. But we still are, as we were called, we have unwavering. That unwavering support has not changed, as Susan said. But we did want to hear what the students were saying. As much as we are happy to some extent with the efforts we put in, we know we're not doing enough. These students still feel distant to us, right? And they shouldn't. So if we can jump to the next slide, and you can see, this is one of our students here that came from the survey, or the focus groups. And the one line that really stuck out to me is they felt like they're living off the grid. They couldn't literally be more on the grid taking an online class, but they still feel disconnected. And that's really interesting from a perspective of just not being able to feel that connection, feel that immediate community you get walking into Finger Lakes or any of our institutions. And how do we achieve that? There are standards that come from Oscar even that say it's not about having the exact same experience in the class or even in the learning environment. It's about an equal experience. So how do we do that? How do we make these students feel like they're not living off the grid? I don't have an exact answer, but that's the question that I've been kind of playing in my head after I read this the first time. Saying like, okay, how do we address this problem specifically? Because they shouldn't feel way out distant from us. They should feel as close as we possibly can make them. We have the technology now, right? If this were 5-6 years ago, it wouldn't be possible to have a student lounge, have these kind of immediate connections. We live in a half Zoom world now, which, as much as people will cringe at that idea, that's really beneficial to see voice. And you can read so much more from a person's experience that way. So we do that in the classroom, but we're definitely still working on it from the student perspective. And so my last slide here is, again, not just toot our own horn, but I really wanted to point out some more practices that we've not only been working on and what we've been kind of leading with, but also where we're going with our information. So as you can see, right, we do provide that consistent communication. We are constantly monitoring not just what we send out, right, but that the quality of it and that it is not overwhelming to students. We are looking for that feedback loop. And we are making sure that, our websites and things and all of our reach outs are rich with information and links that students can use to connect back to campus. There's always going to be kind of when we're reaching out, some kind of action they can take to bring them back in. Also, from this survey, we really learned how beneficial our one-stop services are. So for those that don't know, we have a kind of front desk for student supports at Finger Lakes, that one-stop center, and that allows students to go in person, but also remotely, and reach out and get help in a variety of the student needs that they need, financial aid to advisement. And that really has helped, it actually models Mo's idea to all of our campus. And now, we've closed the loop and online and brought that so that right now, if a one-stop center rep needed Brooke, myself, Alexa, our team, they can ping us immediately and we can be working with that student in moments. So that is a really nice closing loop, the loop we can do for them. And yeah, again, this was a really interesting study and very eye-opening, and I'm so excited to hear what Emily has to say now and learn more about what people are doing. So thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Hi, everyone. My name is Emily Kuhn. I'm here from Plattsburgh. And I think Jeff and Danielle did a really amazing job with covering the larger aspects of the study and the findings, which were mirrored at Plattsburgh as well. However, our participation with the study differed just a little bit in that we just had our coaching is provided in-house by each school. So I'm with the School of Business and Economics. And so for the purposes of this study, we just had our online accounting program participate, which hailed from the Degree at Scale initiative. So because of the success, sorry, of that initiative, it saw just exponential growth and was very large in numbers. So when the initiative transitioned success coaching over to campus control, Plattsburgh really knew that they needed to continue supporting these students in the way that they had gotten used to, as Danielle had talked about. But we just needed to shift things around a little bit and tweak things just to make sure that it was sustainable and that it fit into how things were kind of running at Plattsburgh. So one way that we did that was to integrate the role of success coach into myself and another colleague who is here. Hi, Amelia. And just to integrate the roles of success coach and student support right into our roles. And so when we are reaching out to our students and between the two of us, our success coaching, we cover about, give or take, 360 online accounting students. And so we just sign all of our emails from their student success team. And so with Jeff and Danielle's, their titles and their roles, they could really offer a lot of large picture analysis. On my end, I'm going to be offering just a little bit more of an in-practice perspective of what this kind of looks like on our campus in the School of Business and Economics. So you can swap slides. So just to give a little, just an overview on the specifics of how we're supporting students at Plattsburgh, in our School of Business and Economics, we really start to begin our relationship with our incoming students as early as we can, just to kind of cement the idea that we're here to talk to them. And it also gives incoming students somebody from their department to speak with, in addition to their admissions advisors. They're going through the admissions funnel. So as soon as a student pays their admissions deposit, once they're accepted, admissions sends them right over to us, and we begin a myriad of outreach. So we send them over a video of an introduction of us, as well as a super detailed explanation of exactly what they can expect in the coming days, weeks, months, sometimes depending on when they applied. We also send a required survey, which really serves as a way for us to get to know the student kind of on an individual basis. So it really helps us get an idea of what each student, where they're coming from, who they are. And it also really serves as kind of an early alert system. So we ask a lot of questions about, what their expectations are of entering the program. Most of our students are coming in as transfer students, having either, been out of school for a long period of time. I know Dan earlier mentioned just how different an online student is compared to their traditional on-campus counterpart. So we really see that firsthand right away with who our students are and how they're filling out this survey. So we get to know a lot about them. And including, how many classes they're looking to take for their first semester. So we'll use the answers to the other questions, like if they're working full-time or part-time, if they have a lot of routine responsibilities outside of, work or school that are taking up their time, and any other, stuff they have going on. They have an opportunity to enter in anything they'd like us to know about them, so, we can support them the best. So we use all that to make sure that we're setting them up for success right at the outset. And that they know that we are an impartial, non-judgmental group of people that they can reach out to at any time. If there's a problem, if they just need to vent, we're there to be supportive. So we are very intertwined with our department chairs and with faculty members, and they know us as well. So they are very comfortable with referring students our way when they notice that something might be going on. So we are heavily, heavily involved with students in their onboarding experience, but that does continue throughout their entire semester and their entire time really enrolled in the program. So we have pretty frequent like virtual gathering opportunities, some just-in-time outreach for academic calendar items, and just kind of opportunities to get together with us or get together with other students. And so we've also really tried we send a lot of surveys to our students, and we use those surveys, the feedback from those surveys, to really implement how we're doing things. And this really has, kind of as Jeff mentioned, brought about a lot of changes. One of those being the start of an online accounting club. Students have gotten together in a Discord server because I think being isolated is unfortunately just a huge part of online study. So we try to make sure that students know that they are just as much a Plattsburgh Cardinal as our on-campus students. So hopefully that wasn't too long-winded of an explanation of kind of what we're doing in the SB at Plattsburgh. So up on the screen is one of the questions asked in MDRC's survey that was sent to just our online accounting students. And it asked what how important students view each category. And I think the most notable results were that students most highly value interactions and responses from their instructors, and they want more of it, which is something that we, of course, know. Faculties are definitely the superstars of the show. And everything that we're doing is to support students' experience and, what the faculty as well. So I think that was one of the most notable things that we found in the survey. We can swap. And then on this slide here, we have another thing that was notable from the survey. It asked about the quality of interactions with different people at the school. So one thing that really surprised us here is that just the sheer number of students that's selected not applicable on Success Coaches. And there was another question in the survey that had a high number of students that reported that they weren't sure how to contact their success team. So we're kind of interpreting this as maybe students don't really realize that we are their success team. All of our emails are signed success team, but really who here reads email signatures? So that's what we're running with there. We can go to the next one. And I'll almost end it here with one of the student quote up on the screen. It says, "I don't utilize too much of the coaching. However, I will say that when I started at Plattsburgh a year ago, the advisor I was assigned and the other educational coaches that were also part of the department were very, very helpful in making sure that I had everything. They actually still reach out and make sure that I have everything I need and make sure that I signed up for courses and everything to be sure it was all going smoothly for me. It was nice to have that personal attention. They were very detailed and they were very helpful for a lot of it." So this is, I think, such typical feedback that really honestly gives me the warm and fuzzies because our online accounting students, they are business minded. They don't often need a lot of high touches or a lot of the fluff that some students are kind of seeking. And it really just lets us know that even though a student might not specifically need the services that we're offering, they are still seeing it and they're still appreciating that it's there. Because if they did need to take care of, like, utilize it, they know that they can come to us and we're here to help. So I'll wrap things up with just some items that were learned from this study. That was some feedback that we got from MDRC, and that embedding coaching within the academic program itself does offer a lot of advantages, and that we're really super hyper involved with our faculty, and can kind of give students some more specific advice depending on, what classes they're taking. We know and see these instructors and, can have a little bit more of a connection between the different aspects of student support and academics. The combined proactive outreach with flexible support showed promise for engaging online learners. So all of our online resources, we have created a whole slew of videos specifically designed for our online SBE students. So we try to make things as specific to our student population as we can. And I think students know this and see it. And we try to make all of our anything that is synchronous as flexible as possible. So if something is at a certain time, we make sure to record it and send it out later, or at least send out highlights. Students preferred more consistent touch points from program staff and advisors. So we try to send out at least bi-weekly outreach from us with something like just a reminder of academic resources, something going on campus, something going on that they're able to participate virtually with, or anything relevant to, information from their department chair. And so lastly, just, support from coaches that can be meaningful. A lot of students' online experience is shaped by their experiences with faculty. And so we, as success coaches and, an academic coordinator, we do have meetings monthly with our department chairs and faculty just to level set and see, feedback that we're getting from students, certain courses, and faculty do, address things. And so it's really, really great to have that kind of an open relationship with our faculty members. And they're just so fantastic with making sure that they're making their online courses as friendly to this population as they can. So I think that's about it for Plattsburgh.
Well, thank you, Danielle, Emily, and Jeff for participating in this study and the lessons that you learned and shared with us. I know that they're valuable across all of SUNY. So now we'd like to open it up to any questions you might have. One question, I'll start it. Oh, no, please go.
Hang on, Donna.
Okay.
Okay, so my first question is for Danielle, and I was wondering what you were using for your lounge.
Oh, yeah. So we use Teams, and we've seen that really be useful for a couple different reasons. One, we have done channels by discipline. So they have like individual channels that they can chat in. Our court reporting students have really ran with that. They host their own study groups and everything through that channel. And it's really cool to kind of hop in there and see what they're doing. And it's all student driven that's there. We have a general channel, which is where our coaches and our advisors kind of interact with the students there. More kind of deadlines and reminders and study tips and kind of typical coach things, coach advisor things. And then we did implement text messaging as well. And that for responses, right, we think has made a huge difference. Our students know we exist because they text. Yeah, Ryan.
I did have one more question.
No, don't ask me the platform because I'm not allowed to tell you.
No, that's okay. It was for Emily. I was
We're-
just
we're-
gonna,
I can tell you what we're working on. We're working on implementing Mongoose as part of our college-wide
Okay.
initiative. What we do, just don't ask.
my
Okay.
other quick question was for Emily. Would you be willing to share the survey that you sent out to students as soon as they register?
Oh,
It's also sworn to secrecy.
I think so. Yeah, I don't think anything is sworn to secrecy, but yeah, I would definitely be willing to share that.
Any other questions for the panel? How about virtually?
I would like to know what kind of feedback the students want from faculty. Can you give any more information about what kind of feedback students want?
I can speak to that a little bit. So something that we often hear from students in that we, as success coaches, when we're onboarding students, we try to let them know as part of our onboarding materials, just some general guidelines in terms of when they should be expecting to hear back from professors, because we know that faculty have lives too. You're not, chained to a computer by no means. So we try to let students know that, 24 to 48 hours should be about typical for a response. But if they're, not hearing back for longer than that, what channels they can take. But typically it's just about the communication. So I think it can be really difficult for online students to really feel heard by faculty members because, emails are pretty cold. So we try to encourage students as much as possible to attend office hours by faculty. So I think we have at Plattsburgh, we have a lot of faculty that have online friendly office hours, or at least can reach out to the faculty member in advance and set up like a time to jump on Zoom. And they appreciate that so much because I think establishing that connection and face-to-face interaction with the faculty member, I think does loads for how a student can kind of interact with the course and with the professor going forward. So I think that's one piece.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions, either in the room or virtually?
can I add one? I'll just add one thing to that. I think not only accessibility would, right, like access to faculty, but I think what our online students, sometimes what we hear from them is that from a feedback perspective, they really want more detailed feedback on their assignments, right? So when they submit a paper, they don't have the opportunity to have an after class chat or to bump into a professor in the hallway or something like that. So they want pretty quick, timely responses and feedback because in a lot of our courses, if it's a 7-week course for us, right, they're working on a paper in week 1 that's going to potentially lead to an elaboration on that in week 2. That's a final project in week 7, right? It's a pretty quick turnaround time. And the students want that, especially early feedback, like week 1, week 2, they want to know that they're on the right track, right? That they're delivering the faculty member what they're looking for. And if they're not, how can they fix it, right? Is it tutoring? Is it working with the success coach? Is it using library resources? Is it upskilling in some other way, right? We have lots of ways that we do that. But I think especially in week 1 and 2, our students are looking for that quick feedback that is detailed enough for them to know that they are doing what they need to do to be successful.
I guess it's my turn. And I will take us to 12:30 with this answer. No, I will try not to. So actually on this first, I guess, real AI tip of the day, I will kind of bring out if that's all right. The instructional designer in me is goes off when I hear the idea of feedback, right, and how we communicate with students. And there is a way to ethically, I think, integrate AI here. meaning that if you offer for faculty and for the other designers in the room, if you're offering a quiz, multiple choice especially, or short answer, or not, I'm sorry, true, false, it's a immediate feedback, right? Like that's a quick response if it's right or wrong. But you can use AI there to provide that extra feedback, right? Right in there, true or false, why, right? And that is a cumbersome task for a faculty member to go through and meet that. But if you do put it through an AI tool, that those responses are fairly good, and you're just editing at that point. I've had a couple faculty members do this, and it makes a big difference for the value of those just checkpoints sometimes. So highly recommend that. And again, couldn't emphasize more the importance of face voice for faculty and staff that are worried about this. I've taught English 101. I've sat the front lines there. It's a lot of fun at a two-year community college right now to teach English 101. But when I give my feedback on those essays, it's my voice and my face. I will talk to the student directly and give that feedback and ask them if they want to meet that point. So kind of break the ice there. And that is fairly easily done. Go see your local instructional designer if you want to know how to do that. I can't give a tutorial right now, but I do recommend those kinds of things to help give that feedback for sure.
Any other questions from anyone? Oh, okay. Oh, Kim. All right, hang on. And then we'll go to the chat.
This is not a question, but just a comment that this is an example of the kind of thing that I think we want to be able to do more of, right? Bringing in MDRC with funding from Axum to spend the time to engage with each of the campuses, conduct the surveys, do the focus groups, and present the findings. And, this was really about how did this coaching model that we started at the system level play out in multiple scenarios? What was the feedback of students? What were the similarities? What were the differences? So I think we're interested in doing more of this, going beyond where we could go in this study. And so I just wanted to call that out and say thank you to our campuses who went on this journey with us and engaged because I think it was really helpful. And I think we all learned a lot.
Was there a question, Jen, in the chat that we wanted to turn to?
Yeah, there's a couple. Lori is gonna take care of that for us.
Yeah, I think one of them might have been, do students articulate what type of feedback they might prefer, audio, video, text? I know you guys addressed feedback, but that was one of the questions.
Yeah, they don't know what they want, but that's that's for sure. Danielle said that. I did not say that. I'm responding. No, right. No, but no. I think it's easy to go and look at the learning environment when this really was looking outside the learning environment. And something that, at least from my perspective, Emily probably has a better one. So I'm going to pass it to you. Is that working with students, at that higher level, or just in communication with students, they use Brightspace. They see Brightspace as a high priority message that comes through. It is incredibly important that whatever comes from Brightspace, if you're in charge of that communication line, right, as our area is, that you are filtering it, you are making sure that it's not overdone, and it's not just every day there's something new from Brightspace, because that not only gets in the way of the education that's happening and the communication from instructors, but also just can overwhelm students. So I would point that out as something to think about when it comes to communication outside the classroom. Emily?
Thank you. I'm not sure there's a really correct answer, because I think each student kind of wants something individual. And as Jeff said, I don't think they always know. So I think one thing that sorry. But I do think something that would benefit, I think, all students is that even if an instructor added something to their syllabus that just mentioned, different ways that a student can get in touch with them, and just opening that door and leaving it open for, two-way communication. I think the students that do want that will take advantage of it. So just, having, virtual friendly office hours, it's no one's expecting it, like text responses all the time. But I think just, having it published of ways you can get in touch, I think kind of solves a big piece of that, if that helps.
Anything else from the virtual audience?
Yeah, Alex, another question was the syllabus reading webinars, were they facilitated by just faculty or did academic success coaches also lead a similar webinar?
Okay. Yeah, so our coaches and our advisors attend those meetings and they are the facilitators of them, and the faculty who do the syllabus reading are part of it. So it's nice because our coaches and our advisors also get to understand better, right, what those faculty are looking for, and they can help to prepare those students to take those classes. So it's really everybody's there. And it's used as a kind of a networking event, but also to help students understand how to roll things out. While I have the mic, if there's one lesson that I learned, and I'll call Maureen Kinney out for this one. I remember the day that she asked me, can I send a GIF to my students when she was working with us? And I was like, I guess, right? The next day she comes in my office and she's like, you have no idea how many students replied to me last night. My inbox is full. So don't be afraid to try whatever's trendy. I mean, and we've stuck with that. Like Jeremy can talk about it tomorrow. He'll be here. Like there's things that I don't even use. Like I don't even have a TikTok app, right? But to make reels or to make shorts or to do things, like our students are consuming that. So email, like no one reads email. I mean, we have to sometimes, but our students don't. And there's research that I don't even remember what, I was in a webinar the other day, that 60% of our students' emails are not even opened in their student accounts, right? That's scary. That's terrifying for me. That means that that's 60% of things that apparently the institution thinks are important that they're not consuming. So we have to be a little innovative and think about what are we including in those emails? If that's our only method of communication that's institutionally approved, that's fine. But what are you going to do to engage students and make them click on yours when they're picking, and choosing which ones they're reading? Because they're reading some of them. So what works, right?
Any other questions here in the room?
Yeah, this one other, we're doing a survey on AI use among students at Langara College in Vancouver, Canada. One of their uses of AI is to get feedback on quizzes assignments. What do you think of students doing this as a common practice, especially with instructor time availability issues?
Interesting. I mean, I feel like it follows from what I was saying. So just to understand exactly, the students are doing what faculty should be doing in that situation. Is that correct?
So that the person that asked that question might want to unmute. That was David Brooks.
Yeah, the situation is that the faculty are so busy with huge classes, they don't have time to give all that individual feedback. So the students have kind of some students started to creatively use AI to get feedback on their own.
Yeah, that's the student being one step ahead of the instructor, I think. Really. I mean, that's something where I think, right, that's a great representation of why it's useful in this situation for faculty to not only generate that through AI, but then be able to parse it for us, right? I think that because it's not individualized, but it is unique to the ask when we're using generative AI in that way, that it's really useful for faculty that, see this as a labor-intensive work, and it is. We're not ever going to remove the labor intensiveness, sure, from online instruction. But it is something where we can find those easy wins that have such a big impact. So yeah, again, this is from that faculty student side, but again, if you look outward to the student support side, again, what Danielle was saying too, yes, don't be afraid of the trends, but also embrace the idea of RSI and UDL here, which is, I think, the best kind of speaker I've heard of this is Thomas Tobin on the kind of +1 model. So if you are engaging with students in this way now, what's one thing you can add that would make a little bit easier for more students to understand your message and understand how to reach out? And that sounds like, how do I just spam them more? Incorrect. What I'm saying is another modality. I'm saying another way of finding those students that are out there, like I said, off the grid somehow, and connecting with them. So yeah, that's one of my big takeaways too.
Could I just add, what about that being part of coaching, perhaps in the future, of coaches maybe helping students to use AI effectively and ethically? Especially in the case where there's just no time for faculty. It's a real issue in a lot of colleges.
Yeah, again, we be careful about coaching versus TAs versus faculty there, and we want to respect that, you know, that difference. But I don't see why a coach couldn't help students with study skills and ways to be successful. I just think that, you know, I love what Emily was saying. I'm just your hype person today, Emily. It's your job. So what Emily was saying about meeting with the faculty regularly is important. You don't want to create this, you know, kind of, let me go talk to mom if dad's not talking to me kind of thing. And the coach will help me get through this class if the faculty's not paying attention. So I don't think that's important. I think what's important is that there is kind of a team approach to it. And so yeah, be thoughtful about that if that was the way you're going with it.
Anything else virtually?
No, looks like we're all set.
Okay. Anything from the room? All right. So, you know, as you guys were talking, one of the things that occurred to me when you were talking from the faculty perspective, and you just said it, Jeff, a little bit, these are, you know, from the faculty support perspective, these are best practices in online teaching that we have known for 20 plus years, right? The thing is, you know, for faculty who are new to online, this is new to them, but there are many, many things from the faculty perspective that can be done to support student success. And now with the student coaching model, that collaboration between the folks who are supporting students and the faculty can strengthen those things to support things like learner self-regulation, learner self-efficacy, transactional distance, all of those things that we know as instructional designers, there's the instructional designer coming out of me, are effective. We know today, more than 30 years ago, what works, right? And by adding the student coaching piece, we now are strengthening, well, that relationship between the folks who are supporting the students with all of the things that the coaches are doing and the stuff that's going on in the classroom. And so UDL and RSI are, and Oscar, are pieces of how faculty can get informed about the evidence-based effective practices that are there to help scaffold them and support them as they develop their online teaching skills and practices and the designs of their courses. So I love, like, it feels like the other half of the coin to me in terms, you know, from my perspective, from instructional design and online teaching, the work that the coaching model is augmenting and supporting. So I love the work that you're doing, and I love that we were able to put some scholarly work behind that and understand that better, and that you are here to share that. So thank you very, very much. What else? Anything else from anyone? So I think we're at about time. We're going to stop the recording and stop for about an hour so we can all take a break and get some lunch. And then we will be back at, I believe, 1:30. And our next session will be our Effective Online Practices Awards and Showcase. So I hope you will return or stay tuned for that. We have panelists who have award nominations who will be presenting, and love to have you come back and hear some of the amazing innovative practices that are going on around the system. And then later this afternoon, we have Kelly Herman, who will be doing the accessibility workshop. And there she is right there. So I hope you will come virtually back for that as well as physically. So thank you, everybody. Thank you to the panel. Danielle and Emily and Jeff and Susan, and to everyone who was there virtually, and to all of us here. We're going to go have lunch now. Thank you.